Hello friends, this is Christopher Davis-Shannon, and today I'm going to show you how to play every single 7th chord in every position on the instrument utilizing only 4 chord shapes. The best part is, you likely already know these 4 chords. Before we dive into this, we should make sure that we know what a dominant 7th chord is. It's important to know what's going on musically, not to just memorize shapes up and down the fingerboard. When we say a 7th chord without a designation such as major or minor in front of it, what we are talking about is what's called a dominant 7th chord. And this type of 7th chord is a major triad with a flatted 7th. So what does that mean? Well, if we take a simple major chord such as C, we have the notes C, E, G, and we're doubling the C because it's only a 3-note chord. So there's C on our A string, we're going to move down to add our 7th. When we play a dominant 7th, we're not going to play the 7th from the major scale, which would be a B natural. This would be a C major 7th. But to play our dominant 7th, we're going to take this major 7th and bring it down 1/2 step, or just 1 fret towards the headstock of the instrument, giving us a B flat. You've all played this C7th before. I'm going to link to my video here on how chords are built so you can further understand where each of these notes play with each other to give us these different types of sounds. But now that we've looked at that C7th chord, the important thing to note is that all these open position chords can be moved all over the fingerboard. We just have to play my favorite game, which is called Find the Root. So let's look at the first chord shape. What we're going to do is we're going to form the 7th chord using each of our open strings as the root, or the name of the chord. And then we're going to figure out how to move that up and down the fingerboard to make it any other voicing of the 7th chord. Now you might also hear these referred to as inversions, but I'm not going to do that here. What an inversion is talking about what is the lowest note in the chord. But the way that we'll talk about this today will work for both low and high G uke, because the inversions, the lowest note in the chord, would in fact be different. So we're going to start with our G7th chord because our first open string is G. Now we all know G7th, open, 2, 1, 2. And all we're going to do is make this into a closed position chord. So what we need to do is free up our first finger. So we're going to use our ring finger, middle finger, and pinky to voice that G7th. Might seem a little odd at first. You've probably never played it like this. But then if we move it up 1 fret, all of these fingers, and account for where the nut is, where the open string is. We need to put our first finger on the 1st fret of our G string. This is the same chord shape, but it's now an A flat 7th. Now, how do I know that's an A flat 7th? This is where finding the root really comes into play. Our root in this G7th chord is our open G string. So whatever note I am now playing in this new relationship on the G string, in this case an A flat, G, the next half step up is an A flat, would be now the name of the chord. Same relationship of notes, the same chord shape, but we're just changing the root. So we move this up. If I wanted to play a C7th, I would have to find a C on the G string. So where is that? It's our 5th fret. So I put my first finger here and then form a G7th. So we have 5, 7, 6, 7. Same relationship of notes as our G7th chord, but now just moved on up. So now let's look at how we can move our C7th voicing around. Our next open string is a C7th. We've already looked at this chord. Open, 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 1. C7th. Now we'll be using a bar chord to make this one. So let's play this B flat on the 1st fret of our A string with our 2nd finger. That's going to free up our 1st finger to be a bar. Now, instead of looking at the name of the chord as being based on the G string, since we know this is a C7th chord shape, it's going to be whatever note we're playing on the C string. And you've likely played another chord with this voicing before, and that's our D7th chord, 2, 2, 2, 3. This is in fact the same relationship of notes as this. All we're doing is we're changing the root. We're now playing a D on the C string, which is on the 2nd fret, so we'll bar across that. And then we need to account for where the open string was, which was the 1st fret. So our A string is going to be 1 fret higher. So there is a D7th chord. Now if we wanted to play a G7th chord, but utilizing this voicing, our C major voicing, our C7th voicing, well, we need to find a G on the C string, right? And we're going to go on up. Here it is, the 7th fret. And I'll link to my video here on memorizing the fingerboard. It's important to know where all of our notes are so that you can find these. But you can also guess and check. We know this is an open G string, so we need to find the note that corresponds to this. There's your G, right? So we lay across the 7th fret and then add the 8th fret on our A string. We have a G7th chord. G7th, G7th, utilizing our C7th chord voicing. Let's look at the next one. Now our next one will of course be our next open string, which is E7th. 1, 2, open 2 is our E7th chord. Note, I'm going to play this again without my first finger because we'll need that to account for where this open string is, the E string in this case. So I'm going to play with my middle finger, ring finger, open, and then pinky. What if I wanted to play an F7th chord? Well, F, I've played an F major chord before. Here's our F on the first fret of the E string. So our root is now on the E string. So I slide this all up 1 fret, put down this first finger. So we have 2, 3, 1, 3. We now have an F7th chord that you've likely played before. But have we ever thought about how this F7th is truly the same relationship of notes as this E7th? They are not two totally separate chords. They're utilizing the same exact chord voicing. Now, likewise, if we wanted to play our G7th that we started with, where's our G on the E string? We play find the root. Here's our G on the 3rd fret, right? Again, you can find that by just matching that note with the notes of your open G string. So we put our first finger down and then form our E7th chord around this. So we have 4, 5, 3, 5. And you can, of course, play this as a full bar chord too, if you prefer to play it that way. I usually use the individual finger because I don't like playing bars any more than you do. Let's look at our last voicing. Now we're going to take the root of the chord and move it to our A string. So this will give us an A7th chord voicing, which is open, 1, open, open. Nice and easy, and much like we did with our C7th, we're going to be using a bar for this one. So if we wanted to go up and play a B7th chord, we'd have to find the B on our A string. A, B is up on the 2nd fret. So we would bar across and then use the middle finger on the 3rd fret, adding a D sharp on our C string. There's a B7th chord. Here's A7th. We move it up a whole step, bar across the 2nd fret. So if we wanted to find our C7th chord, we know this is C7th, right? Well, here's a C on our A string. So we can just take that A7th chord shape, bar it across, and add that extra note on the E string. And those are the only 4 shapes that we need to play in every single position, all of our dominant 7th chords up and down the fingerboard. I hope you all have enjoyed this lesson. Join me over on the Tim Mann's Magic Ukulele Club for an extended video featuring the secret 5th voicing, as well as a PDF download and how to integrate open strings to find even further voicings for dominant 7th chords up and down the fingerboard. I'll see you all next week.